name is Navjit K. Sahal, and today I will answer three questions regarding diversity and inclusion as to what I learned from it or did it meet my expectations, and many more. So, moving on to the first question. Did the course meet my expectations? Honestly speaking, before I even took this course, the one thing I expected from this was to be able to broaden my perspective towards the concept of multiculturalism, diversity, and how can we appreciate one and each other's culture without being too judgmental or without being too biased on our own. And after I was while I was taking this course, I was able to learn as to how inclusive that one might feel if we are actually able to spread the narrative that we all belong to the same class of being humans. However, just with the slight differences that makes us unique in our own ways, we should still appreciate one another. So I would say that all the courses or all the concept those that were discussed in the course, like multiculturalism, humility, basic understanding or reflection on one's own culture, I think everything taught me or broadened my perspective in a sense that it made me feel like, or it made me realize that we can still live in the same world while accepting one another and without causing any harm to anyone's sentiments, to anyone's culture, to anyone's background, or to anyone or to any human being itself, by means of simply appreciating the background that they come from, or of how diverse they can be in their own ways, with their ideas, with their actions, with their thoughts, and many more. So I think this course was a very helpful course in a sense that it made me think, or it made me reflect as to how one of us, or every one of us, have its own different perspectives or different attributes that could make us different from one another, and how all those different attributes, if they come together, we could actually make something colorful out of this world. We could actually make this world even more happy and even more, let's say, progressive, in a sense that we accept everyone as who they are instead of judging them because of how they seem to be very different to the background that we belong to. So overall, this course was a really well thought out course, and the expectations I had from it, which was to actually get an in-depth analogy or understanding regarding diversity as to how it actually works and what it should look like in the outer world. I think this course was able to meet that expectation in the very least manner, because of the activities that we had to do, the assignments, the research projects, and everything that was able to help us figure out as to how different cultures can exist or can coexist while also appreciating their unique attributes at the same time. So second question is, has my definition for diversity and inclusion changed? So before I took this course, my definition for diversity was very simple, like all of us being different from one another. However, after I went through this course, it actually became into something that it's diversity is a concept that could actually help us unite at the end of the day, whilst or despite the fact that we all have different attributes or unique qualities that are embedded upon us, let's say because of our culture, because of our backgrounds, because of our beliefs, and many more. I think diversity is a glue that could stick the humans together, or the concept of humanity together, in a sense that it would allow us to reflect on humanity as something that is done under the ability of cooperation, and could only be possible if we're able to accept one another's identity instead of instead of looking down on them just because their identity is very different from the one that we have. So I feel like diversity would be plays a huge role as to how we're able to to socialize in the world, how we're able to make progress in terms of, let's say, policies, regulations, or any societal etiquettes, or let's say norms or stereotypes that could actually be able that actually enhances the definition of humanity in a sense that it makes us realize that we're all humans first, before considering one another as Indian, as Canadian, as someone who belongs to any indigenous group or community, or any other background that is very, let's say, distinct from the one that we have. So I think that's what diversity is. It's a glue that sticks all of us together, that makes us all realize that we're all humans with unique specialities that should be appreciated in order to live in a very united world. So for my in terms of inclusion, my definition before inclusion was just to feel included, like, just to have this sense of belonging, that yeah, even if I belong to a different culture, it's okay. Like, I can still belong in this certain culture. However, the thing with inclusion right now after I took the course was that it made me think that inclusion doesn't only mean to feel the sense of belonging, but it is actually to, like, there's a saying that instead of tolerating someone, we should accept them. So I think inclusion is something that actually, gives out that sets out that precedent, that you should not only tolerate these people just because they belong in the society. Instead, you should accept them as who they are and go along with them, or like work well with them, or let's say cooperate well with them, in a sense that they feel that, yeah, even if they belong to a different, let's say, ethnicity or background or culture, they could still be someone that you appreciate like your own, or they're still considered humans first, in a sense that you don't only exclude them from a certain, let's say, a scenario, knowing that, oh, maybe he or she would not understand this and all the etc, like, let's say, judgmental ideas. I think instead of like having this narrative or having this mindset that, oh, just because that person belongs to a different group, he or she might not understand, or like he or she might not, let's say, appreciate what I say or what I have, or where I belong to. Instead, inclusion actually teaches us the idea to be able to be able to have an open mind in terms of accepting people and their ideas just the way they are, without modifying or without judging them based on what they come from, or based or where do they come from. So I think with inclusion, it makes us think that, it makes us practice the idea of not just tolerating people and their backgrounds and their ideas or their cultures, but rather to accept them and to appreciate them in a level that, that we're able to see more of it in the world. Like, we don't just exclude them, or we don't just consider them as minority, or we also consider them part of the majority, in a sense that we're able to put a spotlight towards their own culture itself, so they could also gain this sort of, let's say, appreciation from the society itself, that yeah, something very different could still exist, and it could still be a major thing to, let's say, to be part of, or to consider of, considering to be part of at some point. So again, diversity simply is the glue that could stick us all together, and inclusion is is a narrative that like, if we really want to stick to one another, we should not just tolerate them, we should also accept them with our open hearts and open minds, and allow them to be themselves no matter where they come from. So last question is, has my views changed regarding, has my perspective changed, or has my view changed regarding diversity and inclusion after taking the course? I would say 100% it did, in a sense that it helped me elaborate as to how the world really works at the end of the day. Like, we could be very different from one another. However, if we're able to, let's say, nitpick the parts that makes us, let's say, unite, or let's say that makes us similar to one another, I think just by putting all those things together, let's say that could be similar. Like, for example, if I belong to the Indian community, and like one of you belongs to the Muslim community, and one of you belongs to the Christian community, I think one thing we all have in common is that we're all humans first. I think that is something that is very crucial to consider, knowing that we're still humans who breathe, live, eat, sleep, go to work, try to live this life in the best ability that we can. And instead, I mean, despite of the, let's say, the differences we have in terms of mindsets, perspectives, point of views, beliefs, or culture that we come from, it is very, let's say, it kind of seems demeaning for us to like only, let's say, look at a person based on the culture that they come from. Because I think diversity and inclusion actually teaches us to look at the person as a human being first, so that we could also accept their diverse aspects too. Because knowing the fact that if you see someone as very human, or like very humane, or we consider them as part of the humanity group, like which they actually are, if you accept them as humans first, we won't have any issues of accepting the differences they have in terms of their culture, their background, their mindset, their thinking, or like anything that makes them different from us. Because in our head, it will be like, okay, I'm a human too, I have different ideas, he or she is a human too, and he or she can also have different ideas. But what matters most, and so we're all humans, and in order to accept, or in order for us to like live, like, to preserve the concept of humanity, we should accept the diversity, and we should include these people despite the diverse aspects that they have, or the different attributes that they have that makes them distinct from us. So I feel like, um so I feel like in the environment that I live in right now, it has made me like feel that the people that I live with, for example, in this house, like currently I live in sharing with tons of people, and they belong to certain backgrounds too. But how I can view them right now is not as someone that, oh, he she belongs to this background, or he or she belongs to that background. In my mind, what I think is that he or she is a human first. So if I can accept them as human, I should also accept them from the background that they come from, which enables me to appreciate their ideas, which enables me to listen to them in a very open, with an open mindset and with an open heart, and makes me accept them as someone who might have a meaning in this life, or might have a meaning, or might have some sort of contribution to this world as to what it is, in the modern world. Because we have to accept the fact that diversity can only exist if we're actually able to appreciate, or if we're actually able to shed light upon the differences that everyone, all of us can have. Like, I think that's how diversity or multiculturalism could be given a more, let's say, more of a very, um it could give a platform that could enable us to feel like, or that could raise awareness that everyone can be different but still the same, as we're all humans with just different ideas, with different backgrounds and different cultures. And I think with that, we are able to, let's say, mitigate the harms that are, like, present in the modern world regards races, or the stereotypes that exist against one, like other identities or other communities. And I feel like if diversity and inclusion is it's a subject that is taken very seriously, and it's very understood in in-depth analysis, or like analyzed very, let's say, properly, I think we're able to mitigate the harms that we see in the world, like, having hate speech towards other communities or other identities. And that would be mitigated by means of, allowing the mindsets to have this idea or this narrative set in their minds, that we're all, before judging anyone, we should judge them as humans first. Or we should see them as humans first before considering them as a Muslim, as an Indian, as a Christian, as a person with black colored skin, as a person with white colored skin. I think all those attributes are very, let's say, those are our specialties, so we should also appreciate ourselves, and not just only, expect the world to appreciate them for us. Which means to say that diversity and inclusion does not only, or it is not only, you know it doesn't only exclude to the society itself, and having them, accepting this mindset, we should accept everyone as who they are. But it should also start from ourselves, like saying that, like instead of being insecure that, oh, my skin is this color, that person has like a higher rank in society because of my skin, or that person's religion or that person's culture has more appreciation in the world. I think instead of thinking it that way, we should try to, let's say, rephrase a certain narrative into saying that my culture is different too. My skin is also, it also needs appreciation. My skin is similar as the same skin with just different tone. I think we should also normalize the fact that, we ourselves are someone who needs to be appreciated, or who needs to have an essence in life, so that the world can also see that same essence that we can bring into the world. So I think diversity and inclusion is a very subjective concept, in a sense that it would allow us to reflect not only as to how the society would look upon us, but how we can look upon ourselves too, and how we can make our differences shine, in a sense that we actually unites us together rather than it puts us against one another. So overall, I think overall this course really helped me like have a broader perspective, or like I have a very, let's say, deep understanding as to how the world can really work if we're able to consider each and everyone's differences in a very respectful and decent manner. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video.